Marcus Chun pushed through the glass doors of Sterling Industries as the first light of dawn painted the sky pale gold. His security uniform hung loose on his tired frame, the night shift badge still clipped to his chest. 12 hours of walking empty hallways and monitoring silent cameras had left him drained, but his day was far from over. The parking garage echoed with his footsteps as he made his way to the battered Honda Civic that had faithfully carried him through 3 years of double shifts. Before we dive into this story, drop a comment and let us know what state you're watching from. Maybe you've witnessed similar acts of kindness where you're from. Marcus rubbed his eyes and started the engine. 20 minutes to Mrs. Rodriguez's house to pick up Lily, then home for a quick breakfast before her school day began. The routine had become second nature since Sarah's death. Each day, a careful balance of work, sleep, and the precious hours with his 80-year-old daughter. As he drove through the awakening city, Marcus noticed the high school grounds bustling with unusual activity. Workers were setting up white folding chairs in neat rows across the football field. Graduation day. The sight stirred something deep in his chest, a memory of his own ceremony years ago when the future had seemed full of endless possibilities. Before life had taught him that dreams could shatter as easily as promises. He pulled into Mrs. Rodriguez's driveway, the engine ticking as it cooled. Victoria Sterling's manicured fingers drummed against the polished mahogany table as 12 board members stared at the crisis unfolding on the projection screen. The numbers were devastating. Their largest client was threatening to pull a $40 million contract, and the emergency meeting had stretched through the night into dawn. Her phone buzzed silently against the table. Emma's graduation ceremony would begin in 3 hours. Victoria had promised her daughter she would be there, had even cleared her schedule weeks ago. But now this crisis demanded her attention, threatening everything she had built since David's death. The boardroom felt suffocating as lawyers debated contract clauses and executives proposed damage control strategies. Victoria's mind drifted to Emma, probably sitting in her wheelchair by the window, watching other families prepare for their children's milestone moments. The guilt twisted in her stomach like a knife. James Patterson, her chief counsel, leaned forward with grave concern etched across his weathered face. The situation is deteriorating by the hour, Victoria. If we don't respond immediately, Sterling Industries could lose 15% of our annual revenue. Victoria closed her eyes briefly, feeling the weight of impossible choices. She had built this empire brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice, always telling herself it was for Emma's future. But what good was securing her daughter's tomorrow if she kept missing her today? The room fell silent, waiting for her decision. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city awakened to another day of possibilities and disappointments. The morning sun cast long shadows across Riverside High School's football field as families gathered in excited clusters around the pristine rows of white chairs. Parents adjusted cameras and grandparents claimed the best seats, while graduates in navy caps and gowns congregated near the school building, their laughter carrying on the warm breeze. Emma Sterling sat alone in the designated wheelchair section, watching the celebration unfold around her like an observer behind glass. Her Navy graduation gown had been carefully pressed by Maria, their housekeeper, who had helped her get ready that morning with gentle hands and worried eyes. The cap sat perfectly on her auburn hair, held in place with bobby pins she couldn't feel herself adjust. Other families streamed past her section, arms full of flowers and balloons, their faces bright with pride. She watched a grandmother pin a boutonniere on her grandson's lapel while his parents snapped photos. A father lifted his daughter's cap to fix her hair beneath it, both of them laughing at some private joke. Emma's phone remained silent in her lap. No text from her mother, no last-minute call promising she was on her way. The emergency board meeting had swallowed another of their moments together, another promise broken by the demands of Sterling Industries. The sound system crackled to life as Principal Martinez began his sound check. Distinguished guests, families, and graduates, welcome to Riverside High School's graduation ceremony. Emma adjusted her position in her wheelchair, tried to ignore the empty chairs that should have held her family. Marcus held Lily's small hand as they walked across the school parking lot, her patent leather shoes clicking against the asphalt with excitement. She had begged him to take her to see the graduation ceremony after hearing about it from her friend whose older sister was graduating. Her dark eyes sparkled with curiosity as she took in the festive atmosphere. "Daddy, look at all the pretty decorations," Lily whispered, pointing at the banner strung between the goalposts. "Do you think the students are nervous about their speeches?" Marcus smiled down at his daughter, her innocent wonder always managing to lift his spirits despite his exhaustion. "A little bit, sweetheart. It's a big day for them and their families." They found seats toward the back of the visitors section, Marcus grateful for a place where Lily could see without blocking anyone's view. From their vantage point, he could observe the entire gathering, a habit formed from years of security work. His trained eyes automatically scanned the crowd, noting the excited parents, the nervous graduates, and the general flow of the event. That's when he noticed her, a young girl in a wheelchair, sitting completely alone in a section clearly designated for disabled students. While every other row buzzed with family members adjusting cameras and sharing stories, her area remained conspicuously empty. She sat perfectly still, her graduation cap slightly askew, watching the ceremony preparations with a resigned expression that seemed far too mature for someone her age. Something in Marcus's chest tightened at the sight. Marcus couldn't shake the image of the lonely girl from his mind as Principal Martinez's voice echoed across the field, welcoming everyone to the ceremony. His protective instincts, honed by years of caring for Lily and his former work with children, wouldn't let him ignore what he was seeing. "Lily, would you like to sit closer to the front where you can see better?" he asked his daughter quietly. She nodded enthusiastically, and Marcus guided her down the aisle toward the wheelchair section. As they approached, he could see the girl more clearly. She appeared to be around 16, with auburn hair beneath her graduation cap and intelligent green eyes that held a mixture of sadness and resigned acceptance. "Excuse me," Marcus said gently as they reached a row. "Would it be all right if my daughter and I sat near you? She's excited about the ceremony, and this seems like a great spot to watch." The girl looked up in surprise, clearly not expecting anyone to approach her. Her eyes moved from Marcus to Lily, who was already smiling warmly at her. "Of course," the girl replied, her voice carrying a slight tremor of emotion. "There's plenty of room." Marcus helped Lily into the chair beside the graduate while he took the seat on her other side. "I'm Marcus, and this is my daughter Lily." He introduced them with the same gentle tone he had once used with nervous patients. "Emma," the girl replied, a small smile breaking through her earlier melancholy. "Emma Sterling." As the ceremony began with the processional music, Lily leaned toward Emma with the fearless curiosity of childhood. "Are you graduating today?" she asked with genuine interest. Emma's smile grew more genuine. "Yes, I am. It feels a bit surreal, honestly." Marcus noticed how Emma's shoulders seemed to relax slightly in their presence. The rigid posture of someone trying to appear unaffected was gradually melting away. When the first speaker took the podium, Emma found herself sharing small observations about her classmates with her unexpected companions. "That's Jessica Chun," she whispered, pointing to a girl in the front row. "She's going to Harvard for pre-med. And there's Miguel Santos, our valedictorian. He wants to be an engineer like his father." Lily listened with rapt attention, asking innocent questions that made Emma laugh softly. Marcus watched the interaction with professional interest, recognizing the therapeutic value of simple human connection. He had seen it countless times in his previous career, how genuine attention could transform a person's entire demeanor. "Is your family here somewhere?" Lily asked with the directness only children possess. Emma's expression faltered for just a moment. "My mom had an emergency at work," she explained quietly. "She runs a big company, and sometimes things come up that can't wait." Marcus heard the practiced explanation, the way Emma protected her mother even while feeling abandoned. "That must be disappointing," he said gently. "Graduation only happens once." As the valedictorian's speech echoed across the field, Emma found herself sharing more than she had intended. "The accident happened 2 years ago," she said quietly, her hands resting motionless in her lap. "Car crash on the way home from a debate tournament. My spine was damaged, and now I can't feel anything below my waist." Lily reached over and gently touched Emma's hand. "That must have been really scary." Emma looked down at the small fingers covering hers, surprised by the simple gesture of comfort. "It was," she admitted. "Everything changed after that. My whole life, really." Marcus recognized the weight behind those words. He had worked with children facing similar challenges, had seen how trauma could reshape not just bodies, but entire identities. "Sometimes the hardest part isn't learning to do things differently," he said softly. "It's believing you're still the same person inside." Emma turned to look at him with surprise, struck by how perfectly he had captured something she had never been able to articulate. "Exactly," she whispered. "Everyone treats me like I'm fragile now, like I might break if they say the wrong thing. But you're still you," Lily said with the absolute certainty only children possess. "You're still Emma, who knows about all the smart kids and has pretty hair and a nice smile." Tears gathered in Emma's eyes at the innocent wisdom. For the first time in months, someone saw her as more than her wheelchair. Victoria Sterling's black Mercedes pulled into the school parking lot with barely controlled urgency, her hands gripping the steering wheel as she searched desperately for a parking space. The board meeting had finally concluded with a temporary resolution, but precious hours had been lost. The graduation ceremony was already in progress, evidenced by the sea of parked cars and the distant sound of applause drifting across the field. She half ran across the parking lot in her designer heels, her tailored business suit drawing curious glances from other late arrivals. Guilt and panic warred in her chest as she imagined Emma sitting alone, watching her classmates celebrate with their families while her own mother remained conspicuously absent. As Victoria crested the small hill overlooking the ceremony, she spotted the wheelchair section immediately. Her breath caught in her throat when she saw Emma, but confusion quickly replaced relief. Her daughter was not alone. A man in casual clothes sat beside her, and a young girl was holding Emma's hand, all three of them engaged in what appeared to be intimate conversation. Victoria's protective instincts flared instantly. Who was this stranger talking to her vulnerable daughter? Her mind raced through possibilities, none of them good. Emma had been through enough trauma without some opportunist taking advantage of her isolation. She quickened her pace down the hill, her heels clicking against the concrete walkway. The closer she got, the more her maternal alarm bells rang. The man appeared to be in his 30s, dressed like a working-class father, completely out of place in their affluent social circle. "Excuse me," Victoria's voice cut through the applause like ice as she approached their row. "What exactly is going on here?" Marcus looked up to see a woman in an expensive business suit standing in the aisle, her green eyes blazing with suspicion and barely controlled anger. The family resemblance to Emma was unmistakable, from the auburn hair to the determined set of her jaw. "Mom," Emma said, surprise and hurt mingling in her voice. "You made it." Victoria's gaze never left Marcus as she moved closer. "I asked what was happening here. Who are you, and why are you talking to my daughter?" Marcus rose slowly, recognizing the protective fury of a parent and choosing his words carefully. "I'm Marcus Chun. My daughter Lily and I noticed Emma sitting alone, so we asked if we could join her for the ceremony. We've just been watching the graduation together." "You noticed my daughter sitting alone," Victoria repeated, her voice sharp with accusation. "And you decided to approach a disabled teenager without her family present. Do you have any idea how inappropriate that is?" The words hit Marcus like physical blows, each syllable designed to make him feel predatory and wrong. Around them, other families were beginning to notice the confrontation, whispers rippling through nearby rows. "Mom, please," Emma's voice carried a note of desperation. "They were being kind to me. I was sitting here by myself, and they—" Victoria's attention snapped to her daughter. "Emma, you don't speak to strangers without supervision. This man could be anyone." "Stop it, Mom, just stop." Emma's voice rang out with surprising strength. cutting through her mother's accusations. Her hands gripped the arms of her wheelchair as she faced Victoria with tears streaming down her cheeks. "You weren't here, okay? You promised you'd be here, and you weren't." Victoria's angry expression faltered as she saw the pain in her daughter's eyes. "Emma, I had a crisis at work that—" "I don't care about your crisis," Emma interrupted, her voice breaking. "I sat here alone for an hour watching every other family celebrate while mine was too busy to show up. And when someone finally showed me kindness, when someone actually cared enough to sit with me, you want to treat them like criminals." Marcus gently placed a hand on Lily's shoulder, ready to leave if necessary. The last thing he wanted was to cause more pain for this family. "We should go," he said quietly. "No," Emma said firmly, turning toward him. "Please don't go because of her assumptions. You and Lily made me feel less alone today. You talked to me like I was a real person, not just someone to be pitied or protected." Victoria stood frozen, watching her daughter defend strangers while condemning her own mother. The words hit her harder than any business failure ever could. In her desperate attempt to protect Emma from the world, she had failed to see what her daughter actually needed. "You made her feel less alone," Victoria repeated slowly, the fight draining out of her voice as understanding began to dawn. Victoria sank into the empty chair beside Emma, her corporate armor cracking as she truly looked at her daughter for the first time in months. "I'm sorry," she whispered, reaching for Emma's hand. "You're right. I promised to be here, and I failed you." Marcus began to gather Lily's things, sensing this was a private family moment. "We really should leave you two alone," he said gently. "Wait," Victoria said, looking up at him with new eyes. "I owe you an apology and an explanation. When I saw you with Emma, I panicked. Since her accident, I've been so terrified of something else happening to her that I've become paranoid about everyone's motives." She paused, studying Marcus's kind face and Lily's innocent concern for Emma. "What do you do for work, if you don't mind me asking?" "I work security at night," Marcus replied honestly. "But I used to be a pediatric physical therapist before I lost my license." Victoria's breath caught. "You're a physical therapist." Marcus corrected quietly. "A malpractice suit ended my career, even though I was later cleared of wrongdoing. Now I just try to take care of my daughter and make ends meet." The revelation hit Victoria like lightning. Here was a man with exactly the expertise Emma needed, someone who understood working with disabled children, and she had treated him like a predator. "Emma, did you know this?" she asked her daughter. Emma shook her head, looking at Marcus with wonder. "You used to help kids like me." 3 weeks later, Marcus stood in the bright therapy room of the Sterling family's estate, watching Emma work through her exercises with determined focus. Victoria had not only apologized profusely, but had offered him a position as Emma's private physical therapist, complete with the legal support to restore his professional credentials. The transformation in Emma had been remarkable. With someone who understood both her physical limitations and her emotional needs, she had begun to rediscover her strength and independence. Today, she was practicing transfers from her wheelchair to the parallel bars, her face glowing with accomplishment. Lily sat cross-legged on a mat nearby, offering encouragement and making Emma laugh with her silly observations. The friendship between the two girls had become a source of joy for both families, bridging the gap between their different worlds. Victoria appeared in the doorway, no longer the ice-cold CEO, but a mother learning to balance protection with empowerment. "How's our star patient today?" she asked warmly. "Getting stronger every day," Marcus replied, pride evident in his voice as he watched Emma complete another successful transfer. Emma beamed at her mother. "Marcus says I might be ready to try adaptive sports soon. Maybe wheelchair basketball." Victoria's smile was genuine and full of hope. "Whatever you want to try, sweetheart, we'll make it happen." If this story touched your heart, please drop a comment and let us know your favorite part, or if you've ever witnessed someone showing unexpected kindness to a stranger.